Jack Marlowe was never particularly good at managing his own life, much less his house. His job as a xenobiologist often demanded irregular hours, and his workspace at home was a chaotic mix of alien artifacts, scientific journals, and half-eaten meals. Recognizing his limits, Jack finally decided to hire some help. One chilly Wednesday morning, the doorbell rang. Jack, expecting the delivery of another set of extraterrestrial soil samples, was surprised to find a tall, slender figure with iridescent skin standing at his door. This was Mira, his new maid. Not just any maid, but an HFY, a species only recently introduced to Earth. "Mr. Marlowe, I am Mira. I will assist in your domicile's maintenance," she said in a crisp, clear voice, her large opalescent eyes scanning the interior as she spoke. Yes, Mira. Please come in," Jack stammered, stepping aside. He watched, fascinated as she entered, her movements graceful and almost unnervingly silent. Mira glanced around the cluttered living room, taking in the stacks of papers and random technological gadgets strewn about. "I will begin immediately. Your home requires significant attention." Jack chuckled awkwardly. "You can say that again. I'm usually not this messy, but work has been crazy." As Mira started picking up papers, organizing them into neat piles, Jack's best friend and colleague, Tom, arrived. Tom's eyebrows shot up in surprise at the sight of Mira. "Jack, you didn't tell me your new help was from HFY," Tom said, extending his hand to Mira, who looked at it curiously before shaking it. "I'm still getting used to the idea myself," Jack replied. "Mira, this is Tom. He's also a xenobiologist." "Pleased to meet you, Tom," Mira said, her voice devoid of inflection but polite. Tom watched Mira work for a moment, impressed. "She's efficient, I'll give her that. Where did you find her?" "There's an agency, Lux Harmonics, that specializes in non-human aids. They assured me that she's one of the best," Jack explained, leading Tom into the kitchen. As Mira organized the living room, Jack and Tom prepared coffee, a morning ritual whenever Tom visited. "So, how's the new project going?" Mira inquired from the doorway, startling Jack, who hadn't heard her approach. "We're actually just about to review some data from the latest expedition," Jack said, handing her a mug of coffee. "Care to join us? It might be enlightening." Mira accepted the mug, her face unreadable. "Thank you. I'm here to assist in all aspects of your domestic requirements." Tom grinned, leaning back against the counter. "She's got away with words, doesn't she?" Jack laughed. "Yeah, she's something else. Let's head to the study. You'll find the mess in there particularly horrific." As they moved to the study, Jack couldn't help but feel a wave of relief. Perhaps Myra's presence would not only bring order to his home, but might also offer a new perspective on his work and life. As they settled down with their coffee, surrounded by the mess that was once solely his responsibility, Jack felt a rare sense of optimism about the future. With Myra's help, anything seemed possible. A month had passed since Myra's arrival, and Jack's home was unrecognizable, clean, organized, and surprisingly efficient. Jack and Tom were now accustomed to Myra's quiet presence and her diligent ways. However, recently, Jack noticed some odd behaviors that were hard to overlook. One morning, while Jack and Tom were discussing a new research project in the kitchen, Mira entered, her skin subtly shimmering more than usual. "Jack, I have completed the reorganization of your library. I believe you will find the new categorization more logical," Mira announced, placing a stack of freshly labeled folders on the kitchen table. "Thanks, Mira, you're amazing," Jack said, distracted by her glow. Mira, are you feeling all right? You seem different." Mira paused, tilting her head slightly. "I am fully operational." "Thank you for your concern, Jack." Tom, sipping his coffee, watched her curiously. "You know, jacular physiology can be quite expressive. That glow could be anything from a mood indicator to a dietary reaction." Mira seemed to consider Tom's words. "My nutritional intake has been consistent. However, I appreciate your analysis." Later that day, as Jack and Tom reviewed data in the study, Mira joined them again, this time with an unusual request. "Jack, may I have a moment to discuss a personal matter?" Mira asked, standing at the doorway with a hesitance that was new. "Of course, Mira. What's on your mind?" Jack replied, signaling her to come in. "It is about my upcoming cycle. It is not a malfunction, but a natural process for my species. It may affect my interactions and efficiency," Mira explained, her voice as calm as ever, but her hands clasped tightly together. Jack exchanged a puzzled look with Tom. "Do you need some time off? Or maybe special accommodations?" No, I do not require cessation of activities. I wish to inform you that my emotional and physical state may be heightened. It is temporary, Mira said, her gaze steady. Tom leaned forward, intrigued. Heightened how? Are we talking about energy sensitivity? What? My species experiences an increase in emotional and sensory sensitivity. It might be noticeable in my behavior, Mira elaborated, her glow intensifying slightly as she spoke. Jack nodded, trying to mask his concern. All right, Mira. We appreciate the heads up. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help make things more comfortable for you. Thank you, Jack. I will continue my duties as usual, Mira assured him, then turned to leave. As she left, Tom whistled softly. Jack, this could be a unique opportunity to observe Aculari biological cycles firsthand. We could learn a lot. Jack, however, seemed more worried than excited. I just hope it doesn't overwhelm her or us. She's become, well, a part of this place. We'll keep an eye on her, make sure she's okay. It's the least we can do after all she's done for this chaos you call a home, Tom said with a smirk. Jack smiled, grateful for Tom's support. Yeah, let's make sure our alien maid doesn't regret signing up for this gig. Over the next few weeks, Jack and Tom found themselves observing Myra's changes, not just as scientists but as friends concerned for her well-being. Her increased sensitivity seemed to bring out new layers of her personality, making her interactions richer and more complex. Jack realized that helping Mira through her cycle was not just a duty but a privilege, giving him a new appreciation for the delicate balance of life forms, alien or otherwise. As Myra's cycle progressed, her behavior became increasingly tactile. She would often place her hand lightly on Jack or Tom's shoulder when speaking, a gesture that seemed to be seeking or offering reassurance. Jack, always curious about alien customs, found himself intrigued rather than uncomfortable. One afternoon, while Jack and Tom were calibrating some sensors in the lab, Mira approached them with an unusual request. Jack, Tom, may I ask for assistance? I am attempting to adapt your garden to be more conducive to my physiological needs during my cycle. I require help with some heavier elements, Mira explained, her voice calm but firm. Tom looked up from his equipment, his interest piqued. Sure, Mira. What do you need? A specific arrangement of mineral composites and flora. It is a comforting environmental setting for Aculari, Mira responded. The three of them spent the afternoon rearranging the garden. Mira directed them to place certain stones in specific patterns that, according to her, would help balance the energy of the space. Is this similar to what humans call feng shui? Jack asked, wiping sweat from his brow as he placed another heavy stone. In concept, perhaps, Mira said, examining the placement with a critical eye. It is about harmony and enhancing energy flow, beneficial during sensitive times. As they worked, Jack noticed Myra's occasional pauses to touch the plants or stones, her face softening with each contact. You really feel a connection to these elements, don't you? Jack asked, genuinely curious about her interaction with the environment. Yes, they are resonant with the vibrational frequency of my homeworld. It is comforting, she replied, the shimmer in her skin briefly intensifying. Tom, who had been quietly observing, chimed in, It's fascinating how physical environment affects you so deeply. We humans get homesick, sure, but it doesn't usually involve sensory feedback from our surroundings. Mira looked at both of them, a slight smile curving her lips. Each species has its nuances. This is one of mine. By the end of the day, not only had the garden been transformed into a serene haven that seemed to hum with an unspoken energy, but Jack and Tom had also gained a deeper insight into Myra's world. Later, sitting in the newly arranged garden, Jack offered Mira a drink, a gesture of camaraderie. Mira, you've made this place better, not just physically, but, I don't know, spiritually maybe? Jack said, trying to articulate his feelings. Mira nodded, accepting the drink. It is mutual. Your willingness to assist and understand, it is significant to me. Tom, looking around at the transformed garden, added, this makes me think. We study alien species, try to understand them through data and observations. But this, working with you, learning about your needs and customs firsthand, it's a whole different kind of understanding. Yes, it is different when life is not merely observed but shared. Mira agreed, her eyes reflecting the setting sun. As the evening drew on, the three of them talked more about Aculari culture, Earth's gardening practices, and the many ways in which life, regardless of its origin, seeks comfort and connection. Jack felt a profound sense of peace, a rarity in his usually hectic life. This project, initially intended to aid Mira, had unexpectedly enriched them all, weaving threads of friendship stronger than any they had anticipated. A week after their gardening project, Jack and Tom were in the study discussing the possible implications of their latest findings on alien flora when Mira entered, a look of determination on her face. Tom, I need to discuss further aspects of my cycle that are relevant to my continued function here, she began, her voice more firm than usual. Jack nodded, setting aside his papers. Of course, Mira. What you need to tell us. It is time for the peak of my cycle. This phase intensifies my emotional and sensory connections. It may affect how I perceive and interact with my environment and with you, Mira explained, her luminous skin glowing slightly as she spoke. Tom leaned forward, his scientific curiosity piqued. How exactly does this peak phase affect you? Are there specific behaviors or needs that come with it? Mira paused, seemingly searching for the right words. My species experiences a heightened state of connection. We become very attuned to the emotions and physical presence of those around us. It is intense. Jack considered her words, trying to understand. So what you're saying is you might react more strongly to things around you. Like us, for example? Yes, Jack. My reactions to your actions or presence might be amplified. I require understanding and some patience during this time, she responded, looking directly at him. Tom, always the more practical of the two, chimed in. We can provide that, Mira. Let's make sure we maintain a comfortable environment for you. Maybe keep things calm and avoid any unnecessary stress. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your cooperation, Mira said, her tone grateful. The conversation shifted as Jack, always interested in learning more, asked, Mira, how would you normally handle this phase? Is there something specific your people would do? In my culture, companionship is valued during this time. We do not isolate. We integrate and support, Mira shared, her eyes reflecting a deep sincerity. Jack and Tom exchanged a look, a silent agreement passing between them. You've got our support, Mira. Let's think of this as a learning opportunity for us, too, Jack said with a warm smile. For the next few days, they adjusted their routines to accommodate Myra's heightened sensitivity. They spent evenings discussing various topics, from human cultural practices to aculari philosophy. Mira, in turn, seemed to appreciate the companionship and often shared more about her world, her people, and herself. One evening, while they were all in the living room with soft music playing in the background, Mira seemed particularly reflective. This is a rare experience for me, she confessed. Back home, I would be surrounded by family and friends. Your willingness to adapt your lives to help me through this time is more comforting than you might realize. Tom, ever the joker, laughed softly. Well, consider us honorary acularis for the duration. Right, Jack? Jack nodded, smiling at Mira. Absolutely. We're all in this together, Mira. As they continued to chat, the conversation grew deeper, touching on themes of belonging, acceptance, and the universal need for connection. Mira, usually so composed, showed a more vulnerable side, expressing her occasional feelings of isolation being so far from home. Jack listened intently, moved by her openness. Mira, we might not be able to replace your family, but we're here for you as friends, as your Earth family. Mira looked at both of them, her glow softening to a warm shimmer. Thank you, Tom. Your friendship during this phase of my cycle has given me a new perspective on human kindness. The night ended with a feeling of mutual respect and understanding deepening between them, a testament to the bonds that can form across worlds, brought together by the willingness to understand and support one another in times of need. As Myra's cycle continued, the bond between her, Jack, and Tom deepened. Their daily interactions were filled with learning and mutual respect, fostering an environment rich in cultural exchange. One evening, as a gentle rain pattered against the windows, the three gathered in the living room for one of their regular discussions. Tom, I've been thinking about the emotional connections my species forms during the mating season. Mira began, her tone thoughtful. It is a profound time for building lasting relationships, not just romantic but platonic as well. Tom, intrigued, leaned in. That's interesting. Humans often associate mating seasons with purely physical interactions. It sounds like it's much more for the aculari. Yes, it is multifaceted. The connections made during this time are meant to enhance emotional understanding and support, Mira explained. Jack nodded, absorbing her words. It's fascinating. We humans could learn a lot from that approach. Too often, our connections are hurried or superficial. Mira smiled slightly. I have noticed that. Yet, I find the depth of your potential for emotional connections intriguing. It's one of the reasons I chose to come here. The conversation shifted as Tom asked about specific rituals or practices Myra's people used to deepen these connections. Mira described various Aculari customs, which included shared activities designed to synchronize emotional states and deepen empathy. Perhaps we could try one of these activities, Jack suggested, always eager to experience new things. If you're comfortable sharing that with us. Mira considered for a moment, then agreed. There is a simple ritual involving the sharing of stories from our past, accompanied by a physical token that represents the story. Tom was the first to volunteer. He brought a small, worn-out music box, explaining how it was a gift from his grandmother and how it played a role in his happiest childhood memories. As the box's delicate, slightly off-tune melody filled the room, the other two listened intently, a quiet respect hanging in the air. When it was Jack's turn, he chose a fossilized plant he had found during his first major field study. He shared the story of his excitement and the challenges he faced, his voice filled with nostalgia. Mira, moved by their willingness to share, chose a small, luminescent stone from her homeland. This stone is from the shores of the glowing sea on Aquila. It's a place of peace and reflection, she said, her voice softening. I brought it to remind me of home. As they each held the stone, the mood in the room shifted to one of profound contemplation and solidarity. This is beautiful, Mira, Jack said quietly, the stone cool and smooth in his hand. Thank you for sharing this with us. The evening ended with a sense of closeness that went beyond their previous interactions. They had shared parts of their lives that were deeply personal, which made their bond stronger and more intimate. In the following days, the trio found their conversations veering more towards personal growth and understanding. Myra's presence and her willingness to open up encouraged Jack and Tom to explore aspects of their own emotions and relationships they had previously ignored or suppressed. One particular evening, as they sat watching the stars from the garden, Mira turned to both of them. Your willingness to engage in Aculari practices has given me a sense of belonging that I did not expect to find here. Jack, feeling a warmth in his chest, responded, Mira, you've given us just as much, if not more. You've made this place a home, not just a house. Tom nodded in agreement. Yeah, what he said. You're part of the family now, Mira. The stars twinkled above them, silent witnesses to the deep emotional ties that had been formed. In the stillness of the night, the barriers between human and alien seemed insignificant, overshadowed by the universal language of friendship and understanding. As the peak of Myra's cycle began to wane, the emotional landscape of the household took on new complexities. Jack found himself wrestling with the realization that his feelings for Mira had deepened beyond simple friendship or scientific fascination. This introspection was sparked one quiet evening as he and Tom discussed the impact of their interstellar house guest. Tom, have you noticed how different things feel around here? Jack asked, his voice tinged with a mix of confusion and concern. Tom glanced over, sensing the weight behind Jack's words. You mean with Mira? Yeah, it's hard not to. She's brought a lot into our lives, hasn't she? It's more than that. Jack paused, searching for the right words. I think I'm feeling things for her that go beyond just camaraderie or scientific interest. And I'm not sure what to do with that. Tom raised his eyebrows, considering his friend's confession. Well, that's a tricky one, Jack. She's not just from another country. She's from another planet. But emotions don't exactly check passports, do they? Jack chuckled weakly. No, they don't. I just don't want to complicate things, especially not now, when she's still going through her cycle. Maybe you should talk to her, Jack. Honesty tends to clear the air, even if it's a bit uncomfortable at first, Tom suggested, always the one to push for direct action. Taking the advice to heart, Jack decided to broach the subject with Mira later that evening. He found her in the garden, tending to the plants under the soft glow of the moonlight. Mira, can we talk? Jack began, his voice unsteady. Mira turned to him, her expression open and attentive. Of course, Jack. What is on your mind? It's about how I've been feeling lately, Jack confessed. Our time together these past weeks, it's made me see you in a different light. I'm grateful for your friendship, and also I think I might be feeling something more. I just wanted to be upfront about it. Mira listened quietly, her face thoughtful. After a moment, she replied, Jack, I appreciate your honesty. My species values transparency in emotions. I too have felt a deepening in our connection. However, it is important to consider all variables in such a scenario. I know, and I wouldn't want to put you in an uncomfortable position, Jack said quickly, his heart racing. Uncomfortable isn't the right word, Mira clarified. It's about understanding the full implications. Our species are different, not just biologically, but culturally. What this means for us could be quite complex. Jack nodded, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. I understand. Maybe we need to take things one step at a time, see where it goes without any pressure. That sounds wise, Mira agreed with a gentle smile. I am here, Jack, as your friend, and I'm open to exploring where our emotions may lead, with care and consideration. They spent the rest of the evening in the garden, talking about their hopes and fears, not just about each other, but about their own places in the world. It was a conversation that brought them closer, not just emotionally, but in understanding each other's perspectives. Tom, who had been giving them space, later joined them with a tray of drinks. Here's to finding our way, no matter how star-crossed it might seem, he toasted, a twinkle of amusement in his eyes. Jack and Mira shared a look, a silent acknowledgement of their complex situation, but also a mutual recognition of the unique bond they were forming. The night ended with a sense of camaraderie, the delicate dance of their burgeoning relationship continuing under the starlit sky. In the weeks following their heart-to-heart in the garden, Jack and Mira navigated their evolving relationship with a cautious blend of curiosity and respect. Tom, always supportive, found ways to give them space while also being there to lend an ear or a hand when needed. One Saturday morning, as the trio sat in the kitchen planning their day, Tom suggested a visit to the local botanical garden. It might be interesting to see how Earth's plant life compares to what you're used to, Mira. Plus, it's a nice way for all of us to get out and relax a bit. Mira, who had been learning more about Earth's ecosystems, agreed enthusiastically. I would like that very much. It would provide a broader context for my studies and observations. Jack, brewing coffee for them, smiled at her eagerness. It's a day, then. Let's get ready and head out in an hour. The botanical garden was lush and vibrant, showcasing an array of plants from all over the world. As they walked through the different sections, Mira was drawn to the similarities and differences between the terrestrial flora and that of her homeworld. This species here, Mira pointed to a flowering vine, resembles the climbing glowthorns of Aquila, though ours emit light during the night to attract pollinators. Fascinating, Jack said, taking a closer look. It's amazing to think about the parallel evolution across different planets. Tom, ever the scientist, was busy taking notes. This could be a good analogy for teaching about convergent evolution. Different planets, similar solutions to environmental challenges. Their conversation meandered through scientific theories, personal insights, and lighthearted banter. As they sat down for lunch at a small cafe within the garden, Jack broached a topic that had been on his mind. Mira, how do you feel about all these new experiences? Are they overwhelming, or do you find them enriching? Mira thought for a moment before answering. Both at times. It is a lot to absorb, being so far from home and learning so much that is new. But it is enriching indeed. It helps that I have both of you to share these experiences with. Tom nodded. We're glad to be part of your journey, Mira. Just like you're a part of ours now. The afternoon progressed with each of them sharing more about their backgrounds. Mira described more about Aquila, its culture, and its people, which fascinated both Jack and Tom. As they returned home, Jack felt a renewed sense of connection, not just with Mira, but with Tom as well. Today was a good day, he reflected aloud as they put away their things. It was, Mira agreed. Thank you both for making it so. Tom, who had been quiet, added, It's days like these that remind me why I got into xenobiology in the first place. It's not just about studying alien life, it's about understanding it, sharing in it. Jack looked at Mira, his feelings more solid than they had ever been. Mira, whatever happens, I want you to know that you've changed my world for the better. Mira smiled, her eyes softening. And you both have changed mine. I am grateful for the companionship, the learning, and the understanding. That evening, as they watched a movie together in the living room, there was a palpable sense of comfort among them. Their friendship had deepened, enriched by each new shared experience, and underpinned by the profound connections they had nurtured, not just as friends or as colleagues, but as beings sharing a small part of their vast and varied lives. As Myra's mating season drew to a close, the dynamic in the household subtly shifted. The emotional intensity that had marked the past few weeks began to ebb, leaving behind a new, deeper understanding among the trio. One quiet evening, Jack, Tom, and Mira gathered in the living room, each lost in their own thoughts until Jack decided to address the elephant in the room. So, Mira, your cycle is ending soon, Jack started, trying to keep his tone neutral. How are you feeling about everything? Mira looked at him, her expression serene. I feel a sense of completion and tranquility. This cycle has been unlike any other, thanks to the support and understanding I've received here. I am content. Tom, who had been flipping through a journal, looked up. It's been an educational experience for us, too. Learning about your species, understanding you. It's been incredible. Jack nodded in agreement. Definitely. It's opened up new ways of seeing things, both personally and professionally. The conversation paused as each considered the journey they had undergone. Mira then turned to Jack, her voice soft. Jack, I want to thank you for your openness and for sharing your feelings. Regardless of where we go from here, I value what has developed between us. Jack took a deep breath, his feelings a mix of relief and a twinge of uncertainty. I'm glad I was honest with you, Mira. No matter what happens next, I'm grateful for what we've shared. Tom chimed in, always looking to lighten the mood. And I'll just add that it's been quite the ride for me, too, witnessing all this. You guys are something else. Laughing together, they felt the tension dissipate, replaced by the comfort of their shared experiences. I think we should do something to celebrate the end of this season. A small trip, maybe? Jack suggested, eager to keep the positive energy flowing. A trip sounds wonderful, Mira responded enthusiastically. Is there somewhere on Earth you think represents your species' achievements or natural beauty? Tom, always ready with suggestions, proposed, how about we visit the Grand Canyon? It's spectacular, and it's a good representation of Earth's natural wonders. Plus, it's a place of perspective, which might be fitting after everything we've experienced. Grand Canyon, it is then, Jack decided, pleased with the plan. It'll be a trip to remember. As they began making arrangements, the excitement of their upcoming adventure brought a new energy. They discussed what to bring, what they hoped to see, and the activities they could do together. It was clear that their relationship had grown into something unique and profound. On the day of the trip, as they stood together overlooking the vast, colorful expanse of the Grand Canyon, the significance of their journey, both literal and metaphorical, was not lost on them. Mira, taking in the view, expressed her awe. This planet, your companionship, it continues to amaze me. Thank you both for bringing me here. Jack, looking over the expanse, felt a profound connection not just to the Earth, but to Mira and Tom as well. Thank you, Mira, for everything. This view, this moment, it's perfect. Tom, snapping photos, added, we'll need these to remember all the good times, though I doubt we'd forget them. As they returned home, their conversation light and full of laughter. It was evident that their bonds had been solidified by the experiences they had shared. Though the future was uncertain and cultural and interstellar differences remained, they had found a way to bridge their worlds, fostering understanding and respect that transcended the stars. The story concluded with them planning their next get-together, a testament to the lasting friendships and mutual respect they had developed. It was a fitting end to a chapter in their lives that none of them would ever forget.